Morning. So I'm back to work. I've just done a night shift, a couple more, and then I'm off again, um, which is it's quite nice after a holiday because I'm still feeling, even after one night shift, I'm feeling refreshed. And there's been a change to my work pattern. So from the beginning of September, I'll be working 4 nights in a row, and then I'll have 4 days off, and I won't work any day shifts. And it represents a kind of regularization of my situation, which I think I will benefit from. Um, I hope. I imagine they'll be asking me to work during the day frequently, but I would try and avoid it really. So there we go, humdrum stuff. But anyway, I've woken up. It's the middle of the day. I've had a few hours sleep, and I've actually got something to talk about. I've got a topic um, in variation really from the previous approach of having nothing whatsoever to talk about, um, which kind of led somewhere strange. Which is great, it's the most interesting thing is to find out where these things go, because of course the topic you start with is not the topic that's really going to end up being talked about, and it's quite enjoyable to go on a little journey of discovery to find out where you're really headed, because when you start out, really, I think realistically you can have no idea of where you're going to end up, or where you're gonna go, where the journey will go. I mean, who wants to know where they're going to end up or how they're going to get there? You really don't want to know that, do you? It's all about the journey. Yeah. So here I am. I'm refreshed. I've had a little bacon sandwich with some. Unusually, I had ketchup in it, which I never normally have. But there was a little glass jar on offer, long, thin glass jar of specialist ketchup, which is delicious. So at the moment, I think that's the only one I'm going to have, because I think the reason it was on sale was that they've stopped selling it. But um, there's me, Mister Buy Everything when it's discounted, sort of picking up the scraps of other people's lives in a sense. But I don't mind. I get stuff presented to me that I wouldn't normally consider buying, and interest varies things slightly. All very boring. Just to warm up my wonderful voice for you, for your viewing pleasure. Um, yeah, so I'm going to talk about time. I'm going to talk about time in an airy fairy way, of course, in the sense that it's all just made up. What I'm going to talk about, it's kind of speculative fairy tale stuff, but I think it's useful. It's it's got some it's got certainly got relevance to, as I guess it always would have, to what's going on in the world. But it's about it's about the relationship between um, present events and past events, and what kind of connections there are between where we're at now and where we were at in the past. How simple. And then, of course, not so simple, in that my question to myself, which I like to pose, and I'm sure I've posed it before, is to what extent are the events of the past affected by the present? We bring into our present a history filled with various achievements, niggles, and downright horrors. Things that we've suffered that we still feel are unresolved in a way, bringing into the present an unresolved past. And the question really that I pose myself is there anything that I can do now that will make my past better? And I'm not talking about revenge. I'm precisely not talking about, I'm talking precisely not about revenge. Because as far as my mind is concerned, any vengeful behaviour, or even any behaviour which is designed to rectify an unsatisfactory past situation, reinforces the validity of that situation in the larger scheme of things, in the balance between the past and the present. All becomes fair. Well, how on earth, you say, can the past change? I don't know. But weird things happen. And just by a change of attitude, your life becomes better instantaneously by having a different view or approach right now, then your entire current situation changes. And as a consequence of your current situation changing, your past necessarily changes. That is the past that you identify with as the history that brought you to where you are now. So on a good day, you remember those days of your past when the sun was shining. You are less likely to remember those dark days when something horrible happened. By putting yourself in a positive position currently, then the past disappears from your life. And the concern about how real the past is in your current life is one that puts into question whether any of it really happened at all. And for my own thinking, I say, well, who cares if it happened or if it didn't happen? Because what's important to me right now is the effect that whatever it was had has changed my life now. The concern is only with what you can remember in one way or another, even subconsciously, and not with those things that have completely been erased from your awareness. They don't exist anymore. So in the world that we live in, the approach of I must put right this past misdeed against me, I suggest is the wrong approach. I think that a right approach is to take a positive view about current situation and enjoy it. And naturally, I think that there is, and here's me, this is me teaching, this is the nature of teaching, is kind of having, because actually I've kind of stuck with the thread of the thing I wanted to talk about. So it is as though I did actually have a point to make and now I'm making it. So this is, I've said I'm not going to be a teacher, but and I'm not in a position to know anything. Like I say, this is all just made up nonsense. It doesn't. There's no fact in there. Um, but I like it as a concept because it helps me always to let go. I never wish to rectify anything. I love to watch the universe just sort stuff out without my involvement, without my wishing anything, any particular outcome. I just watch and see it all happen. That's enough. It really is enough. I don't need to be involved. It's none of my business. I just need to be content with what's happening right now, which I am. Very, very strangely. I'm not concerned about my history. I talk about it often enough, but really it's of no consequence to me. These things have passed. They come and go. And I like to sort of remember those little gems of things that have happened to me because a lot of stuff been through many touching, many varied situations in life that I didn't look for. They presented themselves to me, and part of what's going on for myself is that I have been trying to kind of put it all together into some sort of meaningful structure, which just seems to have sort of developed into something here, but it doesn't matter. I can just let it all go. It doesn't mean anything to me. A little bit rambling now, so I'm veering off into something new, but um, the approach, the way in which, in a very reasonable way, it's possible to affect the past by your current behaviour, and those actions that try to put things right, they're ugly, really. They do nothing to resolve anything. What they do is to cement a reality that carries bitterness into the present and unfinished business as a burden, a task still to be engaged in. But I like to be uncluttered, so I say put history in the bin and live a very real current existence and enjoy it, enjoy life. Because in every situation, I guess, there is enjoyment to be found somewhere. Just like there's beauty to be found anywhere you look. You just have to be looking in the right place. Um, this patronising tone that I've adopted um, in this video is a result of it not being an investigation at all, because the investigation, this is history. For me, I bring in this bit of, the history of my thinking about this topic. I've brought it forward to you. So there you go, there's a little twist. Should I forget all about that and start again? I mean, the language I'm using is a historical structure. What, should I forget that? Maybe I should. Maybe I should do without it. And I'm certainly more comfortable just existing, just being, than engaged in this very simplistic mode of expression that sees the need to trim things down, trim down the complexity of the engagements, and put them into words and grammatical structure It's a simplification of who I am and of the kind of life experiences that I'm enjoying. So yeah, maybe. But how to maintain the connection between people? And God damn it, I've gone over 15 minutes. So hell, I've gone over 15 minutes. So I might just, since I'm now going to have to upload it via YouTube, which will take an hour and a half, I might as well just carry on. No time restraints on this one. Although that's probably enough to indicate that I've come to an end, that I need to be talking about that stuff. And in fact, there you go for now. I shall say that's it. But I know very well that there's more information in there, because it's a massive topic. No, let's carry on then. Let's carry on, because I was thinking about, how far do you take it? Do you take it to an extreme? The leaving behind of history in your ability to enjoy the current situation to its maximum effect? Do we leave language behind? Do we leave the history that has enabled us to inhabit our bodies through learning how to use them? Do we forget all of that too? People go into sort of situations where I understand. They go into situations like they go into a dark tank of water or whatever, to kind of lose their bodies in some way and connect to something else. So there must be something else to connect to. The wizard pins himself into an item. He has to have a magic wand into which he can, or to which he can connect as the basis point for existence. Maybe that is an independent object. Well, it's an icon, I guess, in some ways also. It's something exterior to the body, which represents a stable basis for consciousness. So it's the thing that we come back to. This is ritual going on. The repeated actions that are similar but not the same form a grounding basis. The grounding basis is external to the person, but with ritual, physical ritual is involved in the use of the body. So there's a kind of memory involvement there. The history of the body is still present in those physical, whatever that word was that I've forgotten now. Ritual. There you go. But what about rituals of the mind? Is there such a thing? Is there a ritual of the mind that doesn't involve the body? Is there an icon that is non-physical, that exists in the mind, that doesn't use symbolic imagery, which is historical? Is there something else that we can connect to, that we can constantly go back to as a reference point, to stabilize the basis on which we currently exist? I mean, do we need a point to attach to in order to exist? Is that something that we need? We certainly seem to be attracted to the physical as a mode. Seems to be an easy fix. Do we need that? Do we need language? Do we need a body? Do we need an idea? How far can you take it? And how do you, as a person, outside of all of those things, how do you relate to other persons? Do you need to relate to other persons? Is that something which is part of the coherence, the eternal coherence, which is ultimately going to take us within time to the end point of the universe as we understand it will occur, according to the fairy stories? Yeah, don't know. But for myself, I like to think the fairy story for myself is that I can just be, and it will all come to me. You know, that guy who's, sometimes I post stuff from him, Yogi Bhajan, who's dead now. Who I love that guy because he's a rambling mess. You know, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but it's there. He's got it. You can tell that he's got it, and I love that. I love that. That's what I enjoyed about his kind of presentation, was that it's not about what he's saying because it's all a mess. It's just about the person that's there. Um, and that's how I feel that life can be for me and for everyone. But from my own story, I think I just want to just kind of it's this the thing about relationships. I can't go into the world and, oh look, there you go. I'm not even paying any attention to my image here, clearly. Um, so yeah, I'd forgotten what I was talking about there, but yeah. So um, just about to what extent is it possible? Yeah. So I was talking about relationships between me and other people. Um, which from the outside could be regarded as non-existent really, or not very good, or certainly not well connected and stuff like that. But I mean, people who you have something in common with, you know it immediately, and you don't need to say anything. You just know, and it's reassuring, and it's bigger than all the other stuff. And that's where life is, and that's where I want to be. I don't want to have to explain my workings all the time about everything. What a banal load of nonsense. There must be no connection there if you have to explain your workings. A conversation with someone who's on the same wavelength as you involves a complexity that people outside of the debate or the conversation can't understand what they're looking at. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. Um, and you don't introduce complexity in order to explain yourself to others. It's just there, and it's not random complexity. It's connectedness at a complex level, which is very special and very rare. So when you find it, it's there's a kind of desire to cling on to it. Um, but in as in my current view of the way that things seem to be, there is still a component of physical presence that is required for this connection to be satisfying. That is, to be physically in connection with somebody. I mean, to be on the phone with someone who you've previously physically connected to recalls that kind of arrangement. But I think it needs to be. I hate using the phone. I really hate using the phone. It's almost like I have a phobia of using it. but some very special friends will call me from time to time, and I'll be quite comfortable connecting to them on the phone. Talking to people who I've never met, I really prefer face-to-face connection. There is something about, and it's not about looking at them, it's about the physical presence of a person that's just sort of full of information. So there's something going on in the body that's still valid, and it's valid in its role in the present and enjoyment of the present. Not really leading us anywhere, this kind of line of thought. But anyway, it's another little window into little old me. So yeah, so I'll leave it there. The sun's shining. It's supposed to be a nice day today. I shall go back to bed and try in vain to get some sleep with the curtains, letting the light in, and the heat, and my huge duvet, which is just stayed with me forever, and I'm not going to change it. So there we go. Okay, all right. Well, I hope to see you again if you if you haven't been switched off by this thing. Okay, see you later. Bye.